Hi, my dear friends. This is Vasilina Orlova with you. I'm very grateful to you that you seem to be interested in what I have to say. I already have 2 clients in my little private practice as a coach, and I began my coaching by talking how to unleash creativity, and in particular, how to write. And so this is the kind of content that so far interests people quite a bit. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the importance of keeping the archive and the importance of working with the draft. So the thesis that I would like to offer for your consideration is that the author is the archive. The writer creates the archive throughout their life. And usually, or it's not uncommon for the writer to have only published a slither of this archive throughout their life. And of course, often after the death of the writer, this archive that is left unpublished, it's gone. The person who is writing, they are the ones who are most interested in getting that archive out. Sometimes, if they are lucky, if they're a very productive writer, if they're very good at what they're doing, they would have either, the proprietors of the will, either their children or their followers, the pupils of the method or whatever, who would take that archive that they created that was unpublished and publish it. But this is rare. This is rare. Most writers throughout their lifetime are the best and sometimes only proponents and producers of the writing and the ones who are advocating for the writing that they do. And so whatever it is that they manage to publish during the lifetime is how we end up knowing that writer. So I'm often thinking about writers as the iceberg of which we know only the little top, and the rest that is also written is under the water, right? We never get to know what it is over there. So if your archive is wholly under the water, if nothing is published throughout your lifetime, we have no chance of knowing what you have written. Whatever fantastic insights you had, whatever you managed to put in writing, it's not going anywhere unless you publish it. And of course, nowadays, writers use social media quite a bit. But I mean, that's a great way to go around gatekeepers and go around the publishing limitations, because you have to prove your writing to a whole bunch of people before it can be published. So, of course, social media don't have this barrier, so you can publish whatever you want, but the downside of it is that people spread their writing very wide. And sometimes and often it's not just one social media, it's a bunch of social media. So what you end up having is this stream of writings that are being published on various social media, devoted to various subjects, usually going into all sorts of directions. And what you publish is basically often like the first draft, what you have written. So you have written that first draft, you published it on your social media, and you never return to it to edit it, to deepen, and so on. So this is, I think, not how the archive of the writer is functioning. I think that person wins, basically, that writer wins, who has their writing best organized throughout their lifetime. If they manage to organize these disparate streams of writing into the finished product, essentially the essays that can be published going through the old publishing route. Like, you have to submit your writing to various journals, you have to talk to various, readers of your writing, getting feedback and stuff to get your writing published in the traditional way. The person who is more accurate in terms of organizing that archive, that's the person who will end up with better writing eventually. So I noticed that a lot of young writers and a lot of authors, they tend to also hate their first draft, and they tend to discard it. They would destroy their social media pages. They would write in the journal and then destroy the journal. They would write something in Word file and then delete those Word files. And this again is not how a writer functions. This can be therapeutic, and this kind of writing is also great to be if you are doing it. But if you want your writing to go somewhere, you kind of have to be more judicious about keeping your writing. You have to keep your writing, you have to build your archive, and you have to work with that first draft. So the first draft is usually something that many people do not like after they produce it. Like, they feel that it's cringe, they feel like it's bad writing, they don't like what they have written, so they urge us to destroy it. However, if you keep doing it, you are not gonna get to the point where you will have better texts produced. Because the first draft will always be like that. It's extremely rare that your next first draft is going to be much better than your first draft, right? So basically, you have to keep that first draft after you have written it. Again, you don't have to edit it as you write. You have to let it out. You have to allow it to be. You have to allow it to be. Put it out, like for instance, a couple of days or a week. Now, of course, if you abandon it completely, or if you put it out for 9 years, that is also not doing anything for that particular text. You have to return to it while it's still fresh, but you have to return to it while it's not anymore like this pulsating part of you. So you have to return to it and revisit it, and try to not be a hateful critic of yourself. Try to forgive yourself for what was wrong with the draft. Try to notice something that actually worked in that first draft and try to build on that. You can eliminate the things that you didn't like about your first draft and keep the things that you did like about your first draft. So your second draft, after you have your first draft worked through in this case, is going to be much better, and you will experience far less cringe reading it, and you will like it much better. I like to tell my students this story by Slavoj Žižek, and Slavoj Žižek is a philosopher who is very well known, extremely productive philosopher who wrote, I think, 40 books, which is like, I think, 10 books more than Derrida wrote. And Žižek is not as influential as Derrida, but he's obviously very influential. He's a very successful writer. He is also a fantastic writer. I think we can all agree that even if we don't agree with what he's writing, the style of his writing is still pretty marvelous. He has this amazing muscle that I feel like in America people would call continental philosophy or European philosophy. I don't know if it's called continental philosophy in Europe. It's almost like America is not a continent, but Anyway, he had this story told once in one of his talks or videos that I watched. And he admitted that he hated writing. He said, I hate writing. And I was curious because, he has written so much and this is also great. So why would you hate writing in the sense? He said that he has broken the writing into two tasks, like the first stage, the first task that he's completing is he's telling himself, I'm not writing. I'm not writing. I'm just gonna jot down this thought that I have. I'm just gonna write it down quickly. It's just a thought that occurred to me. I'm gonna write it down. This is not writing. The writing isn't happening. So he would jot that down, and then after a while, he tells himself, well, everything is already written. What I have written, that's it. I only have to now return and add maybe some evidence and some examples, but everything is already written. Of course, most of us are not going to make the writing disappear in this way, like we are not writing it while we are writing, and we are not writing it while we are editing. We are not going to find ourselves in a situation when we love our first or even second draft. However, it's the only way to get your writing to work, because your first draft and your second draft and your third draft, they all lead to one place. The more attention you can actually pay to your piece of writing and the more times you can return to it, the better it's gonna be. The better it's gonna be. So the young writers must keep the archive, must keep those drafts that you are keep producing, and also must return to those drafts eventually, return to them and edit them. So that is something I had in mind for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your attention. Please kindly like my video, subscribe to it, and you can book a session with me if you want to work through some of your streams of writing and organize them into various streams if you would like to have more, um, focused attention to what exactly you are writing. And I will be very glad to talk to you. And I'm hoping that you are having a great day and that you are enjoying whatever it is that you are doing.